one ordinary star suddenly became impossible to ignore. In the crowded heart of the Milky Way, where millions of stars blend into a nearly continuous field of light, one anonymous point began shining brighter than anyone expected. Nothing appeared beside it. No explosion, no visible companion, no cloud of glowing gas. Only the distant star itself changed. For nearly 9 months, its brightness climbed, peaked at more than 11 times its normal intensity, and slowly faded again. Ground-based observatories recorded every step. The pattern was smooth and symmetrical. Something massive had crossed directly between that distant star and Earth. But whatever caused it could not be seen. At first, the evidence seemed strangely incomplete. Astronomers had watched stars brighten before. Many objects can influence starlight. A faint star passing in front of another can create unusual signals. Dense stellar remnants can distort light as well. Even a brown dwarf might explain an unexpected event. The changing brightness alone could not identify the invisible visitor. It only proved one unsettling fact. Something was there. That single background star had become the only witness to an event no telescope could photograph directly. The observatories monitoring the sky treated the discovery as unusual almost immediately. The brightening lasted far longer than typical events of this kind. A longer distortion suggested a heavier object. The invisible lens seemed to linger as it crossed the line of sight. Still, weight alone could not reveal its identity. The investigation had reached its first dead end. The star had flashed. The object remained hidden. If brightness could not solve the mystery, another clue had to exist. Years passed. The distant star returned to its ordinary appearance, blending back into the countless lights of the galactic bulge. To anyone simply looking at the sky, the event was over. For the investigators, it had only begun. The Hubble Space Telescope returned to the same patch of sky again and again across multiple years. Instead of measuring how bright the star appeared, astronomers measured something far more demanding: its exact position. Not by degrees, not even by arc seconds, by tiny fractions so small they amounted to only a few milliarc seconds across the sky. The measurements revealed something extraordinary. The star had not merely brightened, its apparent position had shifted. The movement was almost unimaginably small, yet it followed the precise pattern expected if gravity itself had bent the path of the star's light. Nothing visible had pushed the star sideways. Space itself had briefly curved between the star and Earth. Gravity had left fingerprints. This changed the investigation completely. The brightening had shown that something massive crossed the line of sight. The microscopic change in position showed that gravity, even from an invisible object, could physically redirect light. Astronomers were no longer searching for the object itself. They were reconstructing its presence from the evidence it left behind. The background star had become more than a distant light. It had become a witness describing an unseen encounter. One possibility still remained. Perhaps the invisible lens was not especially mysterious at all. The universe already contains faint stars. It contains white dwarfs. It contains neutron stars. Many compact objects emit very little light compared with ordinary stars. Perhaps one of them had simply escaped immediate detection. To test that possibility, astronomers searched for the lens itself. If a faint star had caused the distortion, sensitive observations should eventually reveal it. If it were a white dwarf, some light should still be detectable. Even a dim object leaves photons behind. The answer came back with surprising clarity. Nothing appeared. Deep observations found no detectable light coming from the location of the lens. The foreground object remained completely dark. Now the evidence began removing suspects instead of adding them. A normal star no longer fit. A white dwarf no longer fit. The measurements also indicated an object whose gravitational influence was too great for those ordinary explanation. Only the combination of mass and complete darkness satisfied everything the telescopes had recorded. The investigation had reached a remarkable point. Astronomers were identifying an object they had never actually seen. Not through imagination, not through simulation, through the measurable consequences of its gravity. Even then, the investigators remained careful. 2 independent scientific teams examined the same observations. Both agreed on the central reality. An isolated, compact object had crossed in front of the distant star. It emitted no detectable light. Its gravity bent the star's light exactly as predicted. Where they differed was in one crucial detail: its exact mass. One analysis placed it comfortably within the range expected for a stellar mass black hole. Another allowed the possibility that it might instead belong to the upper limits of an unusually massive neutron star. The disagreement did not erase the evidence. It refined it. Scientific certainty was being built from measurements, not assumptions. Every calculation still pointed toward the same invisible traveler. The combined evidence of the light curve, the positional shift, and the complete absence of visible light formed an extraordinarily strong case that astronomers had finally identified an isolated rogue black hole moving alone through interstellar space. Unlike the dramatic black holes often shown in fiction, this one was not surrounded by glowing gas. It was not feeding. It was not producing brilliant jets. It drifted silently through mostly empty space. Invisible. Only gravity announced its passage. The calculations suggested that this dark object was racing through the galaxy at roughly 45 kilometers every second, more than 160,000 kilometers every hour. It may have received that tremendous speed when the massive star that created it exploded long ago, launching the newborn black hole away from its birthplace. Its origin remains unknown. Its journey continues. The remarkable part is not where it came from. It is how it was found. Everything began with one ordinary star. A point of light among millions. For a few months, its brightness changed. Over several years, its apparent position drifted by a microscopic amount. Those 2 subtle fingerprints became enough to reconstruct the passage of something that emitted no light at all. The star eventually returns to normal. Anyone looking at it today would see nothing unusual. Yet its brief distortion permanently changed the investigation. It demonstrated that astronomy does not always depend on seeing objects directly. Sometimes the universe reveals itself through consequences instead of appearances. That realization extends far beyond a single discovery. If one invisible wanderer could be uncovered because it happened to cross the light of a distant star, others may still be moving silently through the Milky Way, unnoticed until gravity briefly betrays their existence. The same anonymous star that began this investigation now stands as the only visible testimony that an invisible object once crossed its path. Nothing about the star itself was extraordinary. Only our understanding of what happened in front of it changed forever.